Hare Krishna Prabhu, would you like to start sharing screen?
Yeah, Hare
You have
Krishna
screen,
Mataji.
you have
Yes,
screen
Mataji.
Prabhuji, or you are not sharing anything. It's okay if you don't have.
Share, Mataji. I'll share in a minute.
Okay.
So we will start.
Hare Krishna everyone, welcome to Bhakti Sangha. This evening we are very fortunate to have His Grace Sureswar Shyam Prabhu to enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam summaries, 4th canto, 22 chapter. Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for your valuable time and attention. I now hand over the call to you. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So we'll get started, and doesn't matter how many audience we have, but it'll be interesting. So we can have a live conversation. So there are some interesting aspects in this chapter that we can discuss. So we'll start with prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we'll read this verse. So this chapter is entitled as Prithu Maharaj's meeting with the four Kumaras. So we are reading today. We will be summarizing from 4th canto, 22nd chapter, which is Prithu Maharaj's meeting with four Kumaras. So we'll start with verse 12. We will read through this verse, purport and everything, do prayers, and then discuss a brief summary of this chapter. So this verse goes like this: Swagatam vo dvija shreshta, Swagatam vo dvija shreshta, Yad vartani mumukshavaha, charanti shraddaya dhira, Bala eva brihanti cha. Swagatam vo dvija shreshta, Yad vartani mumukshavaha, charanti shraddaya dhira, Bala eva brihanti cha. Synonyms, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, Suswagatam, welcome, Vaha, unto you, Dvija Shreshtaha, the best of the Brahmanas, Yat, whose, Vritani, vows, I think Vratani, vows, Mumukshavaha, of persons desiring liberation, Charanti, behave, Shraddaya, with great faith, Dhiraha, controlled, Balaha, boys, Eva, like, Brihanti, observe, Cha, also. Translation: Maharaj Prithu offered his welcome to the four Kumaras, addressing them as the best of the Brahmanas. He welcomed them, saying, from the beginning of your birth, you strictly observed the vows of celibacy. And although you are experienced in the path of liberation, you are keeping yourself just like small children. So now here we are seeing Prithu Maharaj is welcoming the four Kumaras by saying Swagatam and addressing them as Dvija Shreshta and Mumukshavaha, who are seeking liberation, right? With Shraddha and Dhira, with faith and determination, right? And they have stayed like Bala Eva Brihanticha, like they have stayed as small boys since beginning. So that's how is welcoming the four Kumaras. And now we will see from Prabhupada's purport why they remained as these young boys, right, 5-year or 4-year old. So we'll read purport and I to understand that. So Prabhuji, do you want to read purport, Prabhu?
Sure, Prabhu. I can read, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah. Purport by Sri Prabhupada ki jai. The specific importance of the Kumaras is that they were brahmacharis, living the life of celibacy from birth. They kept themselves as small children, about 4 or 5 years old, because by growing into youth, one's senses sometimes become disturbed and celibacy becomes difficult. The Kumaras therefore purposefully remain children because in a child's life, the senses are never disturbed by sex. This is the significance of the life of the Kumaras, and as such, Maharaj Prithu addressed them as the best of the Brahmanas. Not only were the Kumaras born of the best Brahmana, Lord Brahma, but they are addressed herein as Dvijashreshtaha, the best of the Brahmanas, on account of their being Vaishnavas also. As we have already explained, they have their Sampradaya, disciple succession, and even to date, the Sampradaya is being maintained and is known as the Nimbarka Sampradaya. Out of the four Sampradayas of the Vaishnava Acharyas, the Nimbarka Sampradaya is one. Maharaj Prithu specifically appreciated the position of the Kumaras because they maintained the Brahmacharya vow from the very beginning of their birth. Maharaj Prithu, however, expressed his great appreciation of Vaishnavism by addressing the Kumaras as Vaishnava Shrestha. In other words, everyone should offer respect to a Vaishnava without considering his source of birth. Vaishnave Jati Buddhihi. No one should consider a Vaishnava in terms of birth. The Vaishnava is always the best of the Brahmanas, and as such, one should offer all respects to Vaishnava, not only as the Brahmana, but as the best of the Brahmanas.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. So we are seeing why Prabhupada is explaining in detail why four Kumaras have remained as Brahmanas. So we will do prayers and start our discussion on this chapter 22. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurulmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rushabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. So we'll start with one question. Just Vinita Gandharvika Mataji. So why do like we see conversation between the Maitreya and Vidura, and we see a conversation between now a conversation between Kumaras, like Prithu Maharaj and Kumaras, and they are sometimes they are asking basic questions. Like we'll come back to that, Mataji. We wanted to discuss why do these great people discuss about simple things, which is very very evident. Like now
Because
we are not. Yeah, go ahead, Mataji.
yeah, because people in general will get benefited because these all conversations are recorded. Not everybody knows everything, even though they know, but to emphasize the same point again and again, like let's say we say don't no meat, no meat. Yes, we know that we don't eat meat, but repeating again and again, we will be sticking on to it. No meat, yes, strictly no meat. Always remember Krishna, remember Krishna, remember Krishna. When we repeat, yes, remember Krishna, that's how Krishna conscious is. But then we just repeat it again, or we ask the question, how can I remember Krishna? How can I remember Krishna? Same question, we keep asking it because so that the answer always is different. from different persons, because every person has their own experience, and then by hearing from many people we get so much conviction what we are following, and it will be helpful for other further generations also. I'm so sorry, Prabhu, my throat is really very bad.
Yeah, yes, Mataji, no problem. I was expecting to hear one word. In the one word I was expecting, that's why I asked that question. And you told that, Mataji. So everybody has different realization, and they express but the depth of their realization matters a lot. The question may be same. Here we will see one question asked by Prithu Maharaj to the sages or the four Kumaras. So same question was asked by Vidura to Maitreya. So the answer, it will be very penetrating depending on the realization of the person, right? And then end of the day, end of the answer, it always connects to lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So that's why these questions may be same, repetitive, simple, but the depth of the realization, like Mataji is saying, it will strengthen our faith, our understanding of the scriptural knowledge, and make us act in that way, right? Action make us like that knowledge to become wisdom. How to make it? When we hear from the souls, it becomes like it will emphasize on the service aspect. So then knowledge becomes wisdom, like that. So here, so in this chapter, um, chapter 22 is titled Prithu Maharaj's meeting with four Kumaras. So this is a long chapter of 65 verses, I think, or approximately, 63 verses in this chapter. So in next 30 minutes or so, we will discuss in a summary form what is this 62 verses mentioning. Before that, we will read from Subodhini a quick summary of what is happening in this chapter. Prabhuji wrote it in few, I think, 2 paragraphs about this, right? So we all know the history, like this fourth canto. It is coming about Uttanapad. We see Dhruva Maharaj and his hereditary, and then it comes to Anga and Vena, and then we see Prithu Maharaj. Prithu Maharaj came from the uh, better part of Anga, like when they churned the body of Anga, Vena, it is Vena, not Anga. So there was another aspect that came out. Right? Prithu Maharaj and Archie came out of the best part of, and they are they are the Shaktavesha avatars of the Lord. So here, so Prithu Maharaj, we all know he conducted horse sacrifice, right? That pastime happened before, and after the horse sacrifice was completed, right? It was incomplete but completed, because the Lord Vishnu was very satisfied with the Prithu, because he obeyed to the orders of Lord Brahma, because he did not fight with Indra or anything else like that. He didn't do it, but he obeyed the orders of Brahmaji, and he concluded his sacrifice. So it was successful because the Lord appeared in his sacrifice. And after that, Prithu Maharaj performed another sacrifice. In that sacrifice, what's happening here, we will see. So can you read this, Mataji? These 2 paragraphs.
Yes, Prabhuji. At the time the four Kumaras appeared at the sacrificial arena, Prithu eagerly welcomed them. Feeling grateful of their rare audience, Prithu said, fortunate householders are those who, even though poor, give worthly reception to saintly like you. Unfortunate are those who, even rich, do not allow Vaishnavas into their house. Their houses are like the trees in which venomous serpents live. Please tell me about the best means of benefit for those sufferings in this world. Sanat Kumara unequally answered, the only cause of benefit for human society has been conclusively established in scriptures as 1. Detachment from the bodily conception. 2. Attachment to the Supreme Lord. And these are attained by the constant hearing about the Lord qualities that are like ornaments of the ears. Attachment to the Lord destroys one's material attachments, but attachment to the sense enjoyment leads to the lower form of life. By engaging one's senses in the service of the Lord Vasudeva, one can easily uproot the material aspirations. The lotus feet of the Lord or the boat to cross the fiery material ocean infested with dangerous sharks. King Prithu tanked the Kumaras, who then departed. Very beautiful, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. So here we see, thank you very much, Mataji. So here we see, in that sacrificial arena, the Kumaras appeared. How they appeared, we don't know. Right? Why they appeared? They appeared because Prithu Maharaj was very pure and he was doing sacrifices sacrifices with a pure heart. So that's why, see, here we're saying feeling grateful for the raid audience. So we'll go back to these verses. So this summary here. So while the citizens were praying to the most powerful king, the 4 Kumaras appeared on the spot. So how did they appear? They appeared, from the sky. They descended from the sky because they have such a mystic power. They don't need any special instruments. So they descended from the sky without. Prabhupada writes in the purport in a very detail how great yoga siddhis they have. Right? So now upon seeing the Kumaras appearing, Prithu Maharaj became very, very enlightened. He knows what it means to get the audience of these Kumaras. And it is described here, he was very anxious to receive those Kumaras. Like a conditioned soul is very anxious to satisfy his needs. Right? So for us, how can we understand certain things is through material explanation only. Like the king became very, all of a sudden, he got very attracted through the audience, for the audience of the Kumaras. Like a sensual person gets very attracted, all his senses become alert for sense gratification or material modes of nature. And then, as per Shastric instructions, Prithu Maharaj, he washed the lotus feet of the Kumaras. And what do we do? Like after we wash the lotus feet of any great acharyas or our spiritual masters and sprinkled over his hair. That's what we have to do. Now we see here directly when we wash the lotus feet of great acharyas, we have to sprinkle on our head. Or sometimes, people, devotees drink it, but here it is clearly said, you have to sprinkle over your hair. So in such a exemplary way, he was very anxious. He received them nicely. He made a seating arrangement, and then he washed their lotus feet. And he was feeling very, very fortunate. How did these great personalities appeared? And it is mentioned here, the 4 great sages were elder to Lord Shiva. So we all know this pastime, right? So here Prabhupada also writes in the purport. So when these 4 sages appeared from the mind of Lord Brahma, the sages did not. He created them. He manifested them so that they can create the progeny forward. But the 4 sages did not want to grow like we were reading in the purport, right? They wanted to remain as balas, as children. So Brahmaji got very angry with that. And in that anger, then the Rudra form of Lord Shiva manifested. So that's why these 4 Kumaras are elder to Lord Shiva. So that's how Prabhupada also explains in the purport. Now, after the 4 Kumaras got seated, right? Prithu Maharaj, he glorifies them he glorifies them, and that is the verse we were reading, So one aspect, Prithu Maharaj says, it is rare audience of these Kumaras, very rare, right? Why it is rare is, thing is, people can't recognize them also. So because we don't have that knowledge to see them, right? See here, Prithu Maharaj saying in 9th verse, Prithu Maharaj continued, although you are traveling in all planetary systems, people cannot know you, just as they cannot know the super soul. So this we know, we can know the super soul. In later verses, they will say how we can know the super soul, right? Super soul is spiritual. We need to be on that platform so that we can know the super soul. Otherwise, super soul is not known. It is there, but we don't believe, or we think it is not even there. Like that, people cannot know you, just as they cannot know the super soul. Although he is within everyone's heart as the witness of everything. Even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva cannot understand the super soul. So, like, this is like, to little bit misleading for us, right? On the surface, it is said that Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva cannot understand the super soul. So is this true or false? Anybody would like to comment? Prabhuji, you want to comment on this? Like,
Prabhuji, because see, Lord Brahma also got confused, right? If you see Brahma Vimohan Leela, Lord Brahma got confused. So we can understand, because they are also humans like us, but they are higher than us, definitely. So it is showing how material world is so dangerous, how even the great souls like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, can be get into trouble with in this material world. Like how about Lord Shiva? I think Mohini Avatara. I don't know if that was the example quoted there, but I was remembering of that. How Lord
that's
Shiva got attracted to Mohini Avatara. So these are examples just to show us, like even great souls can fall into this illusion. What about to us? So be always surrender to Krishna. That's the main goal. I'm sorry if I spoke anything wrong. That's what I remember, Prabhu.
yes, Mata. So that's what Prabhupada also quotes here, right? They know, but they don't know for Leela purpose. It's like that. They know, but they don't know when to perform the Leelas. Like here, exactly what you said, Mataji. It is so happened that when Krishna was present on this planet, Lord Brahma and King Indra also mistook him. Right? This is what it is. And one example that we see, it is quoted here by Srila Prabhupada. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see this. When Sanatana Goswami travels so much and come and wants to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Varanasi, so here he asks Chandrasekhar Acharya to go and check there is somebody outside, because Sanatana Goswami was traveling so much, and he had so much beard, like he was like a Muslim fakir sitting outside, right? He couldn't recognize. Right here it is saying, when Sanatana Goswami went to see Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he could not be recognized by Chandrasekhar Acharya. The conclusion is that Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated everyone's heart, and his pure devotees, the Vaishnavas, are also traveling all over the world. But those who are under the modes of material nature cannot understand the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of this cosmic manifestation, or the Vaishnavas. So the Vaishnavas, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Paramatma form, cannot be understood, right, by everybody. And that's the thing here. So like they can't see or understand the Kumaras, right? It's very rare audience because they can't even understand the super soul, right? That's how the example is given. And in 10 and 11th verse, Prithu Maharaj, he says, who is a glorious person? Even he may be a poor person, too much attached to the family, but he invites the saintly people and offers them whatever he can, right? And washes their feet or giving them some sitting arrangement, right? those are very glorious person. That's what he says. And if the person who is very rich, materially opulent, but does not invite Vaishnavas or respect Vaishnavas properly, wash their feet or something, they are not glorious, right? So those who are glorious, are who serves the Vaishnavas, because the Vaishnavas are the who are carrying the Supreme Lord around in their heart. Everybody has a Supreme Lord in their heart, but the Vaishnavas have realized that it is there. They have that connection. They are really carrying it. Now we are carrying it, but we don't have that realization. But they have the realization, the Supreme Lord. They have that connection with the Supreme Lord, and they are carrying the Supreme Lord around. And because of they are glorious, because they are carrying the Supreme Lord, whoever serves them are also glorious, irrespective of their material position. That's what he glorifies. Then Prithu Maharaj, now like we read in the 12th verse, he glorifies the four Kumaras, saying, you have taken a strict brahmacharya, celibacy, with great determination and strength, right? And your goal is path of liberation. Right? That's how he glorifies. Now, then Prithu Maharaj, interesting twist happens here. So when we meet whoever it could be, right? Especially in our circles now, we will meet with our fellow Vaishnavas or senior Vaishnavas. We inquire about their well-being. But Prithu Maharaj doesn't do that, and he says why he doesn't. Can anybody guess why Prithu Maharaj doesn't inquire about their well-being? Inquire the well-being of four Kumaras.
Because that is like in the bodily platform, and that's why maybe Prabhuji.
Yeah. So here it is clearly saying, Prithu Maharaj is saying, Maharaj Prithu continued, my dear sirs, there is no need to ask about your good and bad fortune. Right? No need to ask about, because you are always absorbed in spiritual bliss. The mental concoction of the auspicious and inauspicious does not exist in you. You see? So that's why he's not asking, how are you doing? Because they don't have good and bad, right? Which is controlling them. So they're not in that mental concoction of auspiciousness or inauspiciousness. So Prithu Maharaj doesn't dare to ask. Prithu Maharaj says, I need to, he says it will come, right? Bring me out of this material concoction, right? You bring me out, not that I need to inquire from you, how are you doing? It implies that they are in that material concoction, right? Which is not. So here, Prithu Maharaj asks a question directly, just welcomes them, says few words, and asks a question. Right? Interesting question. So Prithu Maharaj inquired from the sages about persons entangled in this dangerous material existence because of their previous actions. Could such persons, whose only aim is sense gratification, be blessed with any good fortune? You see, this is the question asked by Prithu Maharaj. I'll just open here PowerPoint. Yeah, same. Yeah, here, let me. Yeah. So here, just I took open Balram Shakti Prabhu's slide. Right, same thing. He's saying, Nataha, O masters. Right, he's saying, Kachin Naha Kushalam. Is there any hope for fallen persons like us? You see, he's saying us. He's a great personality, but he is saying he is also fallen. In the purport, Prabhupada ji writes that he is a king. He is ruling. He, as part of his kingdom, he has to fight with enemy. To fight with the enemy, they have to fight. They have to do hunting and kill animals. so that they learn how to kill, so that they can kill enemies to protect people. So fallen like us, that's why is given, right? Prabhupada ji writes. So for these fallen people, is there any good hope, kushalam? Right? How they are fallen? Their indriya artha vedinam. Their only goal is, who only knows the goal of sense gratification. Indriya artha vedinam. Their indriya artha, their sense gratification is artha vedinam, only goal. And who have fallen into samsara, patitam swa karmabhi, right? And how they have fallen into it? Because of their previous activities, right? This is what is their question. Is there any hope for people who are attached to sense gratification, right? So what is their hope? Is there any hope, right? So this is how great personalities feel, and this is a common question: how to save humanity, right? That's the common question and common theme in all religions also, if you see, right? Is there any hope for them who are in this entangled in this dangerous material existence because of their previous actions? So this is the question, only question asked by Prithu Maharaj to the four Kumaras, right? So this is the standard question, right? Very standard question that we will see. What is the hope for us also, or anybody who is entangled in this world, dangerous material existence? Okay, so same question, means on the similar line, was asked by Vidura to Maitreya in third canto, 7th chapter. So the question asked is, here I will read this question. Okay, the pure soul is pure consciousness and is never out of consciousness. See, and then he's saying, either due to circumstances, time, situations, dream, or other causes, he does not. Sorry, I'll read it again. Yeah, the pure soul is pure. The pure soul is pure consciousness and is never out of consciousness. So this part is clear. So he's always pure. He's never out of consciousness, either due to circumstances, time, situations, dreams, or other causes. So this is what he's saying. He's pure always. Doesn't matter circumstances, time, situations, dreams, or any other causes. Then how then does he become entangled in his science? Right? How does he become entangled in avidya? And he further enhances his question. He says, the Lord as a super soul is situated in every living being's heart. Right? Even the Lord is situated in his heart. Why then do the living entities why then do the living entities activities result in misfortune and misery? So this is the question asked by Maitreya to Vidura. It's kind of not that there. The question is how they can come out of. Here the question is, here why do the living entities activities result in misfortune and misery? Right, there also in that current context question by Prithu Maharaj also is saying they are entangled because of their previous activities, previous actions. Here also kind of same, right? But this question is more, if we put these two questions together, it makes more sense. We are always pure consciousness. Never at any time we are impure. Never any circumstance can't do it, dreams can't do it, anything can't make us impure. And even there is a super soul situated in our heart. Then why these living entities, activities result in misfortune and misery? See, interesting question. We'll take a pause here. So to see, right? Interesting question or not? Anybody would like to comment?
Yes, Prabhuji. Interesting in two aspects. One is that even though super soul is near us always, then even though he's a controller, even though he has all the power to stop us from doing anything bad, still we are engaging in nations. That is a coming out of 6th verse here for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the 5th verse is
Super soul. Yeah, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, and 5th verse is we're meant to be pure always. Then how come we're getting affected like that?
Yeah. So same, like there also same question is asked by Prithu Maharaj to Kumaras. Kind of similar note. How their activities are resulting in misfortune and misery. Right? Same theme, same question.
Yeah, I remember even in 11th canto, I don't have this verse reference, Prabhu, but even 11th canto also similar questions are asked in the conversation between Lord Krishna and Uddhava also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here I'll leave one more thing to the end, right? Just one aspect. Here that is related to the Supreme Lord. I will try to see at the end. But here Vidura gives a straightforward answer. So here he says here 10th one. So what he says is the living entities are misidentifying themselves. Like two examples he gives why this is happening and how can that be destroyed, that misidentification, how can it be destroyed. Like one example he gives is, can anybody see his head cut off? Can anybody see his head cut off? Any Mataji would like to answer? I will try to hide this. Okay, anybody would like to answer? How can anybody see their head cut off?
No, no proof.
No, right? Generally, no. But it can happen. How? So this is what here Vidura says. Like, let's read that. I try to hide it. Okay. Here he says, the living entity is in distress regarding his self-identity. Right? This is what is happening. He has no factual background. Factual background, I will come back to this. Like a man who dreams that he sees his head cut off. Like in a dream, can we see our head cut off? Yes or no?
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji.
We can see our head cut off in the dream, but not in a real sense. See that there's no factual background that can happen, but it's happening in a dream. Right? So that's how. And one more thing he says, like as a moon reflected on water appears to the seer to tremble due to being associated with the quality of water. So the self associated with matter appears to be qualified as matter. So two examples he has given. How can we see our head cut off? That was one. And when we see a moon in the water trembling, like it, if you shake the water, we think the moon is moving because it is associated with the matter, and it thinks we're thinking it is qualified that way, right? So these two examples are given by Vidura. But this is a, like here it is saying, misconception. Like when we wake out of the dream, right, we no more can see that our head is cut off, right? We are coming out of dream, and if we disassociate the water, seeing the moon in the water, see the moon as it is, you don't see it in the water. If you disassociate, right, like why do we have to see moon in the water and then it is trembling, right? That's how it is. We are misidentifying, like we are seeing the moon in the water and it is trembling, right? That's how our identity we are doing, our identification. If we disassociate coming out of a dream or disassociate seeing the moon in the water, then our problems are solved. And how can we dissociate? Here it is. But that misconception of self's identity can be diminished gradually by the mercy of the personality of Godhead Vasudeva through the process of devotional service to the Lord in the mode of detachment. This is what Vidura. This is very just two or three verses. Boom, boom, boom. Right? That's what Vidura Maitreya answers this question. Right? To Vidura. So here also coming back to our, I have one more thing to discuss in the 7th chapter related to the Lord. We will see if we have time, we'll discuss that. So here now this question is asked by Prithu Maharaj, the sages, about persons entangled in their dangerous material existence because of their previous actions. Could such persons, whose only aim is sense gratification, be blessed with with any good fortune? That is the question, right? So here the sages answers the, and just few verses are just enhancing that question. Then here 17th verse we see Maitreya Muni. The conversation is going, back to Maitreya. So we see in Bhagavatam, this happens often in a conversation. Whoever was hearing, right, their aspect comes into picture. Like here, Maitreya is having conversation with Vidura. So the focus is shifting to Maitreya, so that we can understand now the conversation between Prithu Maharaj and Kumaras. So it is taking one step backward. The camera lens is shifting to a different perspective to Maitreya, so that now we can understand what both personalities are feeling or thinking or having some emotions, right? How can we know both personalities, like Kumaras and Prithu Maharaj? What are they feeling? What are they thinking? How can we know, right? We can know only when we come back to the original conversation that is happening between Maitreya and Vidura. Here what's happening? Maitreya is saying that conversation. So now if you come back and see in a succinct way, right, Maitreya is saying, the great sage Maitreya continued. Thus Sanat Kumara, the best of the celibates, after hearing the speech of Prithu Maharaj, which was meaningful, appropriate, full of praise, precise words, and very sweet to hear, smiled with full satisfaction and began to speak as follows. So this is what he's saying, the feelings of the Kumaras. Who can express their feelings? Right? Prithu Maharaj has asked the question. Now he can't say these words. Oh, my question was very sweet. My question was very precise. Right? He can't say this. So that's why the lens is shifting back to Maitreya, who can convey the feelings of the hearer or the speaker. And here he is quantifying the words of Prithu Maharaj. What is that words? He asked such a question which was meaningful, appropriate, full of precise words, and very sweet to hear. See, he's quantifying. Who? Maitreya is quantifying the question of Prithu Maharaj. So our question should be like this: appropriate to the context, full of precise words. Question can't be like another big class. This question should be succinct, simple, and the speaker will get it to ask the question in a very succinct way. The speaker will get it. Otherwise, he will question you back. Sometimes the question goes on and on and on. It doesn't end. Like here, if you see, this is a nice summarization by Maitreya Muni. Meaningful, appropriate, full of precise words, and very sweet to hear. Smiled with full satisfaction and began to speak as follows. Now, Prithu Maharaj has welcomed the Kumaras, asked a question, and we see the praise from Maitreya, and the camera is shifting to Sanat Kumara. Sanat Kumara, the elder person of Kumaras, starts to speak. And this is the only question asked. And the remaining part of this chapter addresses this question. And then the Kumaras leave. How they came in their own with their own mystic yoga siddhi power. They have appeared, from a different planetary system, and they live in the same way to different planetary system. And then there is what is this? Prithu Maharaj praises the Kumaras, and then there is a glorification of Prithu Maharaj at the last, 7, 8, 9 like 9 verses at the end, like in 58 or something. Let me show in Subodhini here. If you see, yeah, I moved away, I think. Let me see in Subodhini. Prabhuji summarizes fourth one, the end. Here, if you see from 56 to 63, qualities of Prithu are described. So this is how the chapter ends. But let's see that answer to that question. How did Sanat Kumara answered that question, right? So we will just try to read a few verses. Uma Mataji, can you read, Mataji, this 18 and 19? 18th verse and 19th verse.
Yes, Prabhuji. 1 minute. Eighteenth.
Yeah, 18th and 19th.
Sanat Kumara said, "My dear King Prithu,
Mataji, we can't hear your voice.
for all living entities, especially because they are raised by you, who are always thinking of the good of others. Although you know everything, you ask such questions because that is the behavior of saintly persons. Such intelligence is befitting your position." Text 19. When there is a congregation of devotees, their discussions, questions, and answers become conclusive to both the speaker and the audience. Thus, such a meeting is beneficial for everyone's real happiness.
Right.
Hare
So,
Krishna.
thank you, Ma. Right. So here we see Sanat Kumara was very satisfied with that question. And how did Prithu Maharaj welcoming them, right? Through questions. So the sages, like Vaishnavas, become happy when we question them and we eagerly hear from them. So this is what he's saying. And like you, Vintakanda Mataji, you summarized, right, Mataji? So you said like some parts of this. So when there is a congregation of devotees, their discussions, question and answers become conclusive to both the speaker and audience. Thus such a meeting is beneficial for everyone's real happiness.
Yes,
And
Prabhuji.
now Sanat Kumar, in a very succinct way, answers this question. My dear king, you already have an inclination to glorify the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such attachment is very difficult to achieve, but when one has attained such unflinching faith in the Lord, it automatically cleanses lusty desires from the core of the heart. So he is glorifying Prithu Maharaj. And then he answers this question in these 1-2 verses. He says, "It has been conclusively decided in the scriptures, after due consideration, that the ultimate goal for the welfare of human society is detachment from bodily concept of life, and increased and steadfast attachment for the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental beyond the modes of material nature." Right? The Lord is beyond the modes of material nature, which means what is beyond modes of material nature? It means who is transcendental. Right? So detachment here, and same because we have detachment, whom are we attached? We are attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And how that attachment and detachment happens? Through hearing and chanting. Right? So attachment for the Supreme Lord can be increased by practicing devotional service, inquiring about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, applying Bhakti Yoga in life, worshipping the Yogeshwara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by hearing and chanting about the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These actions are pious in themselves. Right? So that's how the attachment happens to the Supreme Lord, and detachment can happen from bodily concept of life. So this is the answer that is given by the Kumaras to Prithu Maharaj. So here next remaining part of the chapter continues on that point, and the later part of the chapter there are few verses where it says when the detachment doesn't happen, what happens? So how that conditioned soul keeps suffering, right? And what is his goal, right? If that detachment and attachment mechanism is not happening, right? So what he sees, right? He sees different cause and effects, and he sees his actions more and more entangling himself, right? That's what he sees. So now 27 it explains, when a person devoid of material desires and liberated from all material qualities, he transcends distinction between actions executed externally and internally. This is about a transcendental person. At the same time, the difference between soul and super soul, which was existing before self-realization, is annihilated. So we'll come back to this part. When a dream is over, there is no longer a distinction between the dream and the dreamer. Same answer that Vidura Maitreya Muni gave, right? Here, when a dream is over, there is no longer a distinction between the dream and the dreamer. So that misconception is gone. That one, like that something, which is causing our head to be cut off, seen, that part has ended, right? So that's how they can slowly come out of their misidentification. Right now, they can connect between soul and the super soul that existed before also. Right? So that's how he answers this question. And when this material entanglement is described, analogy is given when the senses are, a person who doesn't want to detach and is attached to the sense gratification. A nice example is given here. When one's mind and senses are attached to sense objects for enjoyment, the mind becomes agitated. As a result of continually thinking of sense objects, one's real consciousness almost becomes lost, like the water in a lake that is gradually sucked up by the big straws in the bank. So, a nice example is given, like sometimes in a small lakes, this grass grows, and organically we can't see it, but the grass is drinking up all the water, and there is no water left. Like that, it's happening. The real happiness is gone for the jiva because he's entangled in artificial happiness. Like the water disappears, here real happiness disappears. Like this, the Kumaras give that example. Then they leave, take leave. Then before they take leave, Prithu Maharaj glorifies them, and they take leave. And Maitreya Muni continues about Prithu Maharaj, like he's like Prithu Maharaj is a great personality, like fire, right, which is unconquerable. And different aspects of Prithu Maharaj are glorified, like a sea, which is unfathomable. No one could fathom his purpose. Right? And then Meru, Meru, fixity in his purpose. Right? Like that, many qualities of Prithu Maharaj are given. His knowledge is like knowledge of Brihaspati. Right? Wind. Right? Wind gives us this bodily and sensual strength. Right? In this prana vayus give us this strength, and wind can go anywhere. nobody can stop his strength in the body or outside, right? Wind can go anywhere. Like his opulences is like Himalayas. Himalayas have so many hidden treasures like that. Prithu Maharaj has been glorified, right? So that's how this chapter ends. And yeah, so this is how a brief summary of Canto 4, Chapter 22, how Prithu Maharaj meeting the four Kumaras. So if anybody has any questions, comments, we can discuss. And last 2 minutes, I will share about that thing from the 7th chapter of 3rd canto. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Anybody, any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all goes to Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhu, for a wonderful class. I really liked how you emphasized the essence in the chapter, which is a question that is asked by Prithu Maharaj and the answer given by Maitreya Muni, and in this case, Kumaras. And then you connected with Maitreya Vidura conversation also from 3rd canto. It is very clear from that conversation, Prabhu, how both are giving the same reason and also the solution also. The reason is misidentification and the solution is performing devotion service to Supreme Lord. That's one thing I was appreciating from your class, that you ensure the essence is captured. And then I liked a couple of other aspects also that you shared. You highlighted from the verses. One of them was how in the conversation between two persons in Srimad Bhagavatam goes to the third person. Like the conversation is going on between Kumaras and Prithu Maharaj here. And then suddenly switches to Maitreya Muni to appreciate Prithu Maharaj like that. That was a nice thing to observe, bro. Thank you for sharing that. And then one other thing I liked about is that how you emphasize the part about how the questions need to be, the qualification of the questions, how they need to be brief and appropriate and also very short, like that you were emphasizing. That was also nice to appreciate from the Bhagavatam verses directly, Prabhu. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu, for sharing.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for summarizing. So, if Mataji or
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you, Prabhu, for such a beautiful class and interactive session always. Thank you so much for going through many places like Balram Shakti Prabhuji's notes, Gaurang Darshan Prabhuji's notes, and Srila Prabhupada's purports. It's very, very nice, Prabhuji. The class was very good. I really like the point that the discussion should be between the sages or between devotees should be benefit themselves and also benefit to everyone. That is the main motto, and we should always, and also the another important point that I like is the great devotees, their outward well-being maybe look like they might be suffering or something like that, but inwardly they're always happy and they're always auspicious for them. Nothing is inauspicious to them, as we discussed why Prithu Maharaj did not ask about their well-beings in the chapter. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Uma Mataji, any quick comment, Mataji, or any question? So one thing I will end with, one question Vidura asks in 7th chapter. Okay, so he says here, before he asked the question about the soul and how the soul gets entangled, he asks a question about the Supreme Lord also. So he says, Vidura said, "O Brahmana, since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is complete, spiritual, whole, and is unchangeable, how is he connected with the material modes of nature and their activities?" See, Supreme Lord is beyond spiritual, beyond material, who is whole, unchangeable. How is he connected with the material modes of nature and their activities? If this is his pastime, how do the activities of unchangeable takes place and exhibit qualities without modes of material nature? Right? So how does the Supreme Lord perform his activities without material modes of nature? And then he says, these material modes of nature or energy of the Lord himself? When it is the energy of the Lord, how those energy which is in the Lord himself is not impacting the Lord, right? So that's how he questions, to understand, to glorify the Lord, to understand his glory further for us, right? So he's saying boys are enthusiastic to play with other boys or with various diversions because they are encouraged by desire, right? The boys are very encouraged to play, all the girls are playing with other girls, right? Because of their desire. But there is no possibility of such desire for Lord because he is self-centered and detached from everything at all times. Then how this Lord gets contacted with material modes of nature, and how does he do his activities without he himself getting impacted? And that's how he asks this question. So for you, please read this purports 2, 3, and 4 from 7th chapter. Right? How so the Lord acts, and in a summary way, the answer is it is like achintya. The Lord's pastimes are achintya, inconceivable. Right? That's how the summary of answer is given. How the Lord, who owns the material modes of nature, which is changing, but he is unchangeable, is performing activities which are again which have qualities of material modes of nature, and how is he not impacted? So this will be kind of, you can self read this, like Maitreya answers in a very simple way this question. Okay, so with that we'll end here. Okay, Mataji, we can end here. Oh, sorry, I forgot I was not sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Third canto, 7th chapter, 3rd and 4th verses, Prabhu.
Yeah,
Okay.
3rd and 4th.
Okay,
So
thank you.
second, third, and 4th.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Prabhuji. I will read.
Hare Krishna. Dhanavad.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Dhanavad Pranam, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. We can end the call here, right?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyev च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय.
Jai.
His Grace सुरेश्वर श्याम प्रभु जी की जय. जय. हरि बोल, हरि बोल.
Hare
Thank you, Prabhu, once again. Hरि बोल.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.